See what I mean about it being very even? I'm not entirely sure how much coverage this foundation or this concealer gives. That's beautiful. You guys, like I said, I was a little bit skeptical about this because for some reason the packaging just screamed skin tint to me. Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. If you're new, then welcome. My name's Christina, and on my channel we talk all things beauty from my own experiences. And today I have another shop with me video for you guys. I recently went to Sephora and Ulta and I filmed some footage for you guys as I was kind of browsing around. I recently posted my curbing makeup cravings video, and some of the products that I talked about there, I did go into the stores to swatch, to play with, to really decide how I felt about them. And I want to share with you guys all of the things that I purchased, as well as put them on the face, try them on, and share with you my first impressions with everything. So before we get into that, let's go ahead and jump into the footage of me shopping at Sephora and Ulta. A new Sephora opened up near me, so I went to this one, and of course I had to check out the very front of the store. They always have a lot of hair care up here, and I'm always just curious to see what they have. Grabbed my basket, and the first thing I saw next to the front were these new NARS lipsticks. They did send me a couple, but I wasn't able to check to see which ones they sent. All of these swatched really creamy, and they were highly pigmented, but I did notice that even the nudes kind of pulled a little pink on me. Came here for the Kulfi cream eyeshadow in the shade Sona Sona. There were 2 left in stock and I was so hyped. This is absolutely gorgeous. I did also stumble on these new Ilia cream bronzers and highlighters. I was curious about the bronzers. As you can see here, they were kind of chunky and they seemed to pill even on the swatch, and they were also a lot lighter than I thought they would be in tone. They also had a little bit of shimmer to them, which was very interesting to me. Spotted the brand new Patrick Ta foundations, and of course I had to swatch a couple for you guys. I did swatch 15 initially because I was thinking this would be my shade match. However, it seemed like it kind of oxidized. 15 is that top swatch, and I swatched 14 underneath it, and I think 14 is my shade. I also finally got to see the Danessa Myricks concealers. Even though I don't think I had an absolute perfect shade match, these still looked really promising and super pigmented. Next up were these Fenty blushes. I did not have any expectations for these, but the second I touched it, oh my goodness, it was so buttery and it swatched super evenly. Here I have Petal Poppin' and Baking Cakes, and because these swatched so effortlessly, I had to swatch all of them. So they do have a collection of mattes and shimmers within this line, and here I swatched all of them on my arm. They were all equally creamy. The shimmery shades did not feel chunky or glittery or anything like that. From left to right, we have Summertime Wine, Lollipoppy, Drama Class, What a Brat, Petal Poppin', and Bacon Cakes. I wasn't entirely sure if these are new. These are the Ami Cole foundation sticks. I swatched the shades 340 and 320. It looks like 340, the one closest to my wrist, would actually be a good shade match for me. And there's a spot for Fenty hair. I cannot wait to like smell these and actually see them in person. I spotted the Ulla Henriksen Creme Brulee Lip Peptide. I did swatch it and I noticed that it's a pretty nude, but it almost looks like a milky nude or clear on me. Same great consistency and smelled amazing, but I already have a lot of these. I was so interested in these Laura Mercier Caviar sticks. They said new and improved, and it wasn't entirely clear which ones were new, but I found out later it was actually the shimmers. I was eyeing the shade Sepia. I always look at that one, but I also swatched a ton of the brand new shimmers. From left to right, again, we have Burnished Bronze, Mocha, Amethyst, Sepia, and Dusk. These are gorgeous. They swatched highly pigmented and super creamy. I wanted to also compare the Laura Mercier Sepia Caviar stick with the Danessa Myricks Nude 8 cream, and you can kind of see here the Danessa Myricks at the bottom is definitely more yellowish green. Finally saw the Charlotte Tilbury sticks in person. I can confirm these are glow in a bottle. They're definitely glowy. I swatched the shades number 8 and 7.5. 7.5. I could probably get away with both of these. 7.5 is on the right, 8 is on the left. They're so shiny and slightly slippery. I think these are probably best as a highlight on oily skin such as mine. And then I did leave the store. I headed over to my other Sephora just to see what they had, and they did have the Tower 28 setting powders there. I want one of these so badly, but I cannot decide between the translucent or the banana shade. And I also picked up the Huda Beauty Easy Blur foundation. You guys already saw my full review on this, but I do review it in this video as well. Here I have the shades 330N and 300N swatched on my arm. And I did see the primer. It seems like your standard sort of silicone-like texture, and it was really cute and pink. At Ulta, I did swatch the Danessa Myricks I Need a Warm palette. It looks really bland and boring here, but the swatches, I'm telling you guys, in person looked incredible. They were so creamy. During the second trip to Sephora, I did spot the Glossier Boy Brow Arch. This is really interesting to me. I think I'd probably be the shade Cool Dark Brown, and while I like the concept of this, I just know myself, I will probably only use this one way, which would be to get the finest lines from it. Also, during the second Sephora trip, I did pick up one of the Dior foundation sticks. I didn't talk about it in this haul because I recorded the try on prior, but here I have the shades 3.5N, 3N, and 2.5N swatched, and I did go with 3N for my skin tone, and when I swatched it on my cheek and my neck, it matched perfectly. And I was super surprised to see the Makeup by Mario setting powders. I thought these were online only right now, but I did manage to find them, and I snagged the shade Neutral Peach. It was the last one. I was so excited, and I cannot wait to try this. I also looked at the setting spray, but I have so many setting sprays to go through. Maybe I'll pick this up on a later day. I hope you guys enjoyed that little shop with me. Now I want to jump in and talk about all the things that I purchased at Ulta first. It's really not that much as you guys saw, but I did want to show you guys what I ended up picking up. So I did snag the last I Need a Warm palette from Natasha Denona at my Ulta store. I was pretty impressed by the formulation, but I wasn't surprised. You know what I mean? Natasha Denona formulations, as I've said in the past, are incredible. They are very consistent with every single palette that she does. And this palette, while it probably isn't anything that looks different from your typical brown neutral palettes, they're the type of browns that I know I'm gonna get use out of. And these days, I'm not only interested in purchasing makeup that you guys will be interested in seeing videos about and maybe things that you guys wanna see me review, but also products that I know that I'm gonna be using. I'm sure you've seen so many of the videos where people feature this palette. This will be no different. We are going to be testing this one out today, I think. I also picked up one of the new Ulta Beauty Collection Weightless Water Stains in the shade Plum Paradise. I did pick up the mango shade, the orange one, a couple of weeks back, and I really liked the way that it felt on the lips. I really liked the stain that it left behind, so I did pick up Plum Paradise, and this one is surprisingly very, very wearable. In the tube, obviously, it looks like a very vampy purple color, but actually it almost has, I swatched it right here earlier, so I'm doing it right over it. It almost fades into this natural, almost browny purple shade, and I truly think that this looks so, so good on my complexion and just generally on my lips. My lips are not very pigmented at all. I actually put this lip stain on maybe 3 hours or so. Most of it has faded, but there is some residual staining right here. Like, my lips aren't typically this dark. I think that these are super comparable to Benefit's Benetint, except I almost feel like this applies a little bit more evenly than the Benetint. And just so you guys can see, I did wipe the stain away, and it did leave a very noticeable stain right here. Getting into what I purchased at Sephora, they gave me this rouge bag, which is really cute, but also I never know how to feel when they're like, congrats, your rouge. And I'm like, I know. I'm aware, unfortunately, that I am. Firstly, I did pick up one of the brand new formulated Laura Mercier Caviar sticks. They reformulated them, so I was swatching a bunch of them, as you guys saw, and I really liked the pigmentation that they had. I loved how smooth they applied actually on my arm, and I felt like the shades were definitely something that was really complementary to my complexion. So I did end up going with burnished bronze. You guys saw I just kept going back to burnished bronze. It seems like it could almost be a neutral, but it could also be a pop of color, so I thought that I would try this out. I did, of course, get the Kulfi Zari Eyes eyeshadow in the shade Sona Sona. I'm still debating on the new shade that came out with this, the purple one. I knew that I was going to be purchasing this. This is so beautiful. We're gonna use this today. I cannot wait to get it on my eyes. I picked up the Danessa Myricks Yummy Skin Lift and Flex Concealer in the shade number 8 Golden Olive. Now I am almost always going to be a neutral tone. I felt like I didn't have a perfect match in the concealer, but this was going to be my closest one. If I'm not neutral, I'm typically somewhere in the olive or the golden area. You know, if it's just golden, typically it's too golden. But if it's just olive, then sometimes it's too green looking on my skin. But for some reason, I felt like the golden olive was a really good even balance of the two. I got the Huda Beauty Easy Blur Natural Airbrush Foundation in the shade 300 N Latte. I was between this one and 330N Butter Pecan, I believe was the other one, if I'm remembering that correctly. It literally was today when I went and I can't even remember. When I first heard that she was coming out with this, and just based off of the packaging, I was like, great, another skin tint. But this is actually supposed to be medium coverage and it has a natural finish. So I do not think that this is supposed to be a skin tint. This definitely is supposed to be a foundation. So I'm very excited to see how this works on me. I love Huda Beauty complexion products these days. I think she does such a wonderful job. So I'm excited to share how this works on me. And I did give in and I purchased one of the Fenty Beauty Fenty Cheeks in the shade Bacon Cakes number 1. I was very convinced that I was not going to be picking any of these up because I just have so many blushes to go through, and that still reigns true. I still have a lot of blushes to go through. However, when I actually put my finger and swatched in the tester, I was blown away by how soft this felt. It felt like it was micro finished almost, you know, when you have a very microfine powder and you kind of rub your fingers together and it gives you that flour-like feel, like F-L-O-U-R flour, where it's very soft, very finely milled. It felt like that. And when it swatched, and when it swatched evenly and it swatched just as smooth, I had to at least pick up one. So I did get the shade Bacon Cakes. This is just such a perfect color. It really reminds me of Haus Labs Fire Moon blush, which is definitely one of my favorite blushes. You guys know my love affair for these Haus Labs blushes. So this is Fire Moon and then this is Bacon Cakes. They are quite similar, but you can kind of see that Fire Moon seems to look a little bit more warm in the pan, while Fenty's new blush kind of looks a little bit cooler and a little bit darker. Oh man, look at that. It just swatches so nicely, and this one has a little bit of a sheen here. I don't know if you guys could see it in my footage from Sephora, but it definitely has quite a bit of a sheen there. And on the skin, did you guys see that swatch? I hope I didn't cut it off, but on the skin, it translates so well. It just looks like you have a really healthy shine to your skin. So here's Fire Moon, here's Bacon Cakes. Bacon Cakes right next to it while I'm comparing it. It doesn't look as neutral beige as Fire Moon does. So this one adds a little bit more of that purpley mauve tone almost to the skin, but I think that it kind of has that same characteristic of being a little bit more of a muted tone. And I think it might translate the same on the skin. The packaging I think is really cute. It's unconventional for sure, the way that they have it shaped, but that's nothing new for Fenty Beauty. They love their really interesting packaging, and I think that this is really fun, but I am curious to see how this stores away. I forgot to mention, I also purchased the NARS Total Seduction eyeshadow stick from Ulta in the shade Faded, F-A-T-E-D, and this one was not actually available on Sephora or at Sephora stores. This this seems like it's an Ulta exclusive and NARS exclusive shade. So I picked this one up. It's this really fun, kind of warm, dark purple shade. I saw someone use it on TikTok and I was sold. Do you see how beautiful that is? Wow, wow, wow. That is gorgeous. I cannot wait to get this on the eyes. I think it's going to be very, very flattering, especially if you have green eyes, if you have brown eyes. I think that this is going to be so pretty for the fall time, but just in general, just a little bit of color, you know, a little pop of color. That's everything that I purchased. I don't think I went too crazy. I say that because for Ulta, I did have a gift card and I did use points. So I actually didn't end up spending anything out of pocket. I used things that I had accrued. So technically, I only really spent money at Sephora. Girl math. So that's everything that I picked up. Let me go ahead and throw a headband on and let's get started on our first impression demo. So I was thinking about using a primer. I don't know. I can't decide if I want to use a primer with this. She does recommend using the Easy Blur primer that she came out with the foundation. Let's go ahead and see what that primer entails. Okay, so I just read some of the ingredients and what this primer is supposed to do. And while of course I don't think that I have anything that is exactly the same ingredients list, the first couple of ingredients are going to be water, which is normal, glycerin, butylene glycol, dry propylene glycol, so on and so forth. And I think just off of a really quick glance, the Laura Mercier Pure Canvas Primer, the hydrating version, is going to be quite similar in the sense that it's hydrating and it gives you an even canvas. So we're going to be using this to prime the face today. So we're just going to use a little bit of this and just put this all over the skin just to hydrate and smooth. I have a big old pimple right here. I'm breaking out on my chin. They are hormonal breakouts. We're gonna try to see if this foundation and this face of makeup can cover that. While I let that absorb into the skin, I'm gonna go ahead and do my brows and I'll be right back. So I did a quick run through in my brows of my Kush Roll Tint Brow Mascara Brow Gel. So I'm just going to prime my eyes with my Ulta Matte Eye Primer. And I don't think that I want to use the Natasha Denona I Need a Warm palette today, because I just feel like there are so many videos on it currently and maybe you guys are tired of seeing it. If you do want to see me use it, then let me know in the comments down below. I do plan on doing another video quite soon about other new makeup products that maybe I received in PR, or maybe I didn't pick up from Sephora and Ulta, or possibly just things that I want to test out in general. So maybe I will feature it in that video if you guys let me know you do want to see me use it. But today I definitely want to use this Kulfi Zari cream eyeshadow, and I think I'm actually going to pair it with the NARS eyeshadow stick in the shade Faded. I think this warm purpley shade with this glitter topper is going to be beautiful. So let's go ahead and do that. I think I want to kind of accentuate the shape of my eye, so do a little bit of a cat eye and maybe a little bit of a wing before we go in with the cream eyeshadow. So what I'm going to do is just draw this on to the eye. Ooh, so creamy. I'm going to start there, and I'm just going to start shaping this on the eye. When I first went to Sephora a couple of weeks ago, and the first time that I saw these eyeshadow sticks, I was not super impressed. I did feature them in another shop with me video. I was kind of just like, okay, they're nice, but I can't see myself wearing any of the shades. But I didn't know they had this shade only at Ulta. So I thought that I had seen the entire collection, but I hadn't. And I'm really glad that I stumbled on this shade because it is beautiful. It's always harder for me to do my left eye just because I'm right-handed. It never turns out as good. This does seem like it's drying down very quickly. I'm glad to know that it does dry down, just because some eyeshadow sticks can stay very, very creamy. We'll see as the day progresses how much this actually stays put, like how much it dries down and stays, because I find that whenever I use an eyeshadow stick, I have to wear it for a full day, for a couple of days actually, to really gather all of my thoughts on it. Looks pretty crazy, but I think that once we use the eyeshadow topper, it's definitely going to tone down the eyeliner. I think that under the eyeshadow topper, this is gonna look quite subtle. So I actually wanna build it up a little bit more. And actually, you guys, I think I just lied to you. I think I am gonna use at least one of these shades here because I want something to kind of emphasize my crease a little bit. As you can see, I don't know if you guys can tell, but with this, it almost makes my eyelids look very, very flat. So in order to cancel that out, I'm gonna go ahead and use one of these shades. Just taking this Sigma Tapered Blending E40 brush, and what do I wanna use? I don't wanna like necessarily darken anything. I think I'm gonna go in with this shade right here, this neutral, almost cool brown in the shade Soft Spot. Would you call that cool? I never know. Seems like a good shade to just deepen up the crease. So I'm just gonna take this right in our crease from the outside to the inside to really bring back the look of a crease. So you can kind of already see here, it's starting to form more of that depth and definition that we kind of lost with the eyeliner. That tends to happen with people that do have smaller eyelids like myself. If you do cover the entire like fold almost of the eyelid with eyeliner, it closes up the eyes. So in order to cancel that out, just bringing some sort of eyeshadow, bringing it up over the crease really brings back the definition. This is definitely more my taste. I will say that Natasha Denona eyeshadows are quite powdery. If you can kind of see right there, it is kicking up a lot of powder. It's not a huge deal. I still feel like the eyeshadows perform really well for me, and I don't find that my palettes get too messy in general. I do tend to keep them quite clean, so it's not a deal breaker for myself as long as the eyeshadows continue to perform the way that I want them to. I don't really have an issue with it. I might take that same brown under the lower lash line just to keep everything pretty balanced, but I'll do that later. And now I want to go in with the Kulfi cream eyeshadow in the shade Sona Sona. Oh, I love cream eyeshadows from Kulfi. I just love Kulfi as a brand in general. I think that everything that I've tried from them, I have absolutely loved. Not just liked, but loved. The concealer is my go-to concealer from them. The lip stains, the lip oil stains, they're incredible. Even the satin lipsticks, I think that the shades are perfect for those of us that have some brown in their skin tone. Just everything about the brand screams my name. Let's go ahead and swatch this. Same moussey consistency that all of their cream eyeshadows tend to have. Oh my gosh. That's beautiful. Okay, shall we swatch it? You guys, do we see how absolutely stunning this is? It's definitely more gritty, and I expected that because this is marketed as being a topper. You can of course wear it alone because you can see it does have a champagne base to it, but because they do say that it can also be a topper, I assumed that it was going to have a little bit more of a chunky glitter to it versus just a metallic shimmer. And this is just absolutely beautiful. I definitely want to wear this by itself one day. I'm sure that I will. But today, in the sake of using as many of the new products that I purchase as possible, I'm going to use it as a topper. And I'm going to use far less than this because I think that this may end up covering up what we already did on the eyes. So I'm just going to do a little dot here, 2 little dots there, and I'm going to try to put this all over the eyelids, kind of scatter it almost, and see what we can come up with. That is stunning. I'm going to take a little bit more just to get an even layer all over the eyes. Kind of bring it up into that matte brown shadow too, so we can tie everything together. And you see what I mean about the glitter topper kind of making the lash line of the purple NARS shadow stick a little bit more subtle. It definitely like mutes it or tones it down because that shimmer on top of it really takes over, but not in a bad way, just generally that is the nature of it. I think that that is beautiful. So we're going to do the same exact thing on the other eye. All right, I think I'm going to leave it there for now. So beautiful. I think everything that we use on the eyes so far really translates so well. All right, so now that we have pretty much the eyes done, let's go ahead and start on the complexion. So I'm not going to be using any of my color corrector just because I am testing out both a concealer and a foundation. So I want to see how much coverage and how much correcting we can get out of this. Also because this is, again, a golden olive undertone, I kind of feel like this does pull slightly more warm on my skin tone, so it may just have a natural color correction to it on me anyways. So let's see what this looks like. So it does say to shake this foundation really well, so that's what I'm gonna do. And she does recommend using this with a brush, not with a sponge. So I'm going to take some of this on the back of my hand. Quite a runny consistency. It just almost immediately ran down the back of my hand. So that's really nice. I don't really mind that sort of consistency. It's the finish that I'm typically concerned with. So I'm going to put this all over the face. I do think that this may be either a little too light or exactly my natural skin tone. That gave me a lot of coverage. I think I used a bit too much, and I still have a lot on the back of my hand. So, wow. Ooh, that took care of my redness really well. And I think this time I'm just going to stamp my brush in there and buff it in. By the way, this is a Sigma F48 soft coverage brush. I love using this for foundation. All right, so I definitely used a lot less when I tapped it in like that. That took care of the breakouts on my chin really well. I do see a little bit of redness peeking through, but with a very thin layer, the coverage, the amount of coverage I got from that is very impressive. I think that did really well. We'll see as it dries down how it kind of settles on top of those pimples. I'm just using a damp sponge to pick up any excess product that may not be settling on the skin the way that I want it to, and just get rid of any brush streaks if we have any, even though I don't think I had any. And just so you guys know, I don't go all the way up to my hairline just because my forehead is a lot darker than the rest of my face. So I only take it really in the center to like almost brighten it, and then I take bronzer and stuff on my forehead. That's probably why some people have noticed my forehead looks a lot darker sometimes, because it's not foundation. It's not bronzer on top of a lighter foundation. It's bronzer on top of my natural skin tone, you know? All right, so looking at my skin right now, just checking out the foundation, this looks like a pretty good color for me. I think as the months go on and as I get a little bit more pale, this is gonna actually match me very, very well. I think it matches me well right now. It's a pretty good match. This pimple right here, I have been struggling with it for a couple of days. I've been putting my spot treatment on it using chemical exfoliants, using retinol and stuff. So this pimple is on its way to getting dried out and disappearing. And because of that, I do have a lot of dryness on top of it. So I feel like you can see a little ring of dryness around it, emphasized by the foundation. I don't fault the foundation for that, just because I know that this pimple is very dry and it's in the midst of healing. Everything else, like my other pimples and stuff, they don't have a ring of dryness. They're not more emphasized or anything like that. I just thought I would point that out for you guys in case you do tend to have dryness around acne or just dryness in general. But I think the skin looks very, very nice. Do I think it looks blurred? I don't really think it looks blurred, just because it does have that really nice natural finish with that, like that hydrated finish, you know? For me, sometimes blurred foundation is the more matte finish foundation, or it looks more blurred after I set it down with powders and stuff, after I finish it with finishing powder, stuff like that. So right now it just looks like natural healthy skin. I don't think it looks airbrushed or anything just yet. We will see once we finish this whole face of makeup, but I think it looks really good. I appreciate that it's not giving me too much dewiness, even with that hydrating primer underneath. I think that this looks like a very solid foundation choice. Okay, so now we're gonna go in with the Danessa Myricks concealer. So this does come in a ton of different shades. I have the shade number 8, like I said. This does retail for $30 and I purchased it in Sephora stores. Just gonna put a little bit everywhere. It does have this really interesting doe foot. It almost looks like it's supposed to hug the contours of your face. It is quite small though, so I don't know how much hugging it really would do. If anything, it kind of just cups more product into it, which is really nice. You don't have to like keep dipping into the actual tube here. It says it's a medium to full coverage, skin loving, all over face concealer. It's packed with 9 plant powered ingredients plus hyaluronic acid and vitamin E. It has sodium hyaluronate to hydrate the skin, caffeine, and centella asiatica to moisturize and strengthen the skin barrier. I thought that this had Upslate, but maybe this isn't part of that collection from her brand. Upslate is that oil sucking ingredient that Danessa Myricks products have, but this is the Yummy Skin line, so I believe that's more catered to hydrating the skin. It's a serum hybrid complexion improving formula that flexes and moves with your skin. That's really interesting to me because you know how you put concealer in like crevices, like here on the inner corner of your eyes or like on your smile lines and stuff. I think it's really interesting that they put that it moves with your skin because that leads me to believe it's not actually going to sink into any of those fine lines or dynamic wrinkles and stuff that you typically would use concealer in. I'm very interested to see how this performs on me. I have heard really good things about this. I don't think actually that I've seen any negative reviews just yet, which is probably why I went ahead and picked it up even after it had launched a couple weeks ago. This has really good pigmentation. It blends out really nicely. I think that I did a thin enough layer everywhere to where it almost felt like it was starting to dry down already. I'm pretty sure if you put a bigger dollop of this product in one place, you'd have more time to like blend it out. That evened out my skin really nicely. I think maybe I'll just add a little bit here where you can see some of my freckling and then a little bit more on that inner corner of my eyes. I think that that concealer really smoothed out my skin. I think it looks so good under the eyes. I'm not seeing it emphasize any of the texture I have under the eyes, and I don't see it sinking in to any of my fine lines just yet. I think that this is a really good combination of being hydrating but also drying down. I don't think that it's adding any excess hydration, but it's also not sucking the life out of my skin. Okay, I think that looks really nice. So I'm just gonna go ahead and put some bronzer on and then powder the face down, and we'll come back to put our new blush on. All right, so I'm doing my lip color here. I thought I would show you guys. I just used the Fenty lip liner in the shade Peanut Butter. I use it to line the outside of my lips, and now I'm gonna use that Plum Paradise lip stain to see what we have going on. See what I mean about it being very even and pigmented? It's so good. That lip liner does feel kind of weird underneath it. Like it feels kind of dry, but these lip liners dry down very quickly, and they also completely dry down, so the wear time of them is incredible. But I think the nature of them, because they do dry down completely, they almost become this dry tight feeling, kind of. It's not bad. It's not terrible. Don't get me wrong. I like that. I like that with the eyes. I think I want a little bit of shine to kind of complement the eyes, the shimmer that we have going on. So I'm actually going to take this Vizzy lip gloss. It's just the pink, almost clear shade. I featured this in my J Beauty and K Beauty haul from when I went to Japan. I'm just going to take a little bit of this and dab it on top of that stain. It's supposed to be similar to the Dior Maximizer lip glosses. They do have a really nice tingly feeling to them. So now let's finish off with the cheeks. We're taking the Fenty blush in the shade Bacon Cakes, and where's my brush? I'm gonna be taking my Makeup by Mario F4 brush. It is a little dirty, but I did use my Sigma switch just to get off all of the excess. I really like using this to pack on color. I don't think I'm gonna have to pack on too much because this seems like it's gonna be very pigmented. So I'm gonna go in with a very small amount, not a lot of fallout actually. And then I'm gonna put this right on top. That is beautiful. purple. That's really pretty. And I think because it has that sheen all throughout, like ribboned into the powder, it's kind of maintaining more of that natural skin-like finish, which I am all about. I don't think that it's too overpowering on my face, and I think it complements a lot of my eye looks too. Is it just me, or are blushes this year just getting incredibly luxe? Like the formulations and the finishes and stuff, they are just blowing me out of the water these days. Oh no, I'm putting way too much. Okay, let me stop while I'm ahead. I'm really sad because my Laura Mercier compact completely shattered. It shattered a little bit and then it got worse after my trip. I don't think that I can press this back together, honestly. So I'm just kind of using it like, you know, those powder pearls. I'm just slowly packing it onto my brush. All right, finishing off the makeup with some setting spray. I'm using this Milk Makeup Pore Eclipse matte setting spray. I have been testing this out and so far I really like it. Okay guys, this is the finished makeup look. I just pulled my hair back into a clip. I can't be bothered with it right now, honestly, but this is what the makeup is looking like. Truly, I think that this look is so pretty. It's like a little understated, but also a little bit glam because of that shadow topper. Now let's go through and talk about all of the different products and let me tell you guys all of my first impressions on them. A very premature first impression on the Natasha Denona palette, the I Need a Warm palette. I think that this is really nice. I think that it delivers exactly like her other eyeshadow palettes do. They're buttery, they're soft, they're pigmented. I have no complaints so far. I do think that if you have a lot of neutral brown toned eyeshadow palettes, you don't necessarily need this. If you're looking for something all in one palette, maybe it would be intriguing to you like it was to me. The shimmers are beautiful. I can't wait to dive into this a little bit more. Like I said, I was a little bit skeptical about this because for some reason the packaging just screamed a skin tint to me, but it is nowhere near a skin tint. It is definitely a true foundation. I actually think that this looks really nice on the skin, especially once I set it down with powder. It looks more airbrushed once it's set down with powder. That's just kind of how I tend to translate an airbrush look. I think it's something that is more on the mattifying side, you know what I mean? This one does give you more of a natural finish upon first application, but it doesn't add any hydration. So I think for me, as someone with oily skin, this is a plus because it's still going to make the skin look really nice and healthy, but it's not going to slip and slide and feel greasy or look greasy on the skin. The Danessa Myricks Yummy Skin Concealer, I think that this is actually going to be a really nice addition to my concealer collection just because it seems to apply very naturally. It's very easy to blend in, but I feel like this actually dries down more on the matte side, but not necessarily matte. I want to say it almost seemed like a satin matte because it has a little bit of that hydration, but it seems like it's something that would not have to be heavily set down with powder. It seems like something that I would be able to use all over the face without any foundation, but it also seems like something that I can use like I did today, where I'm using it to further conceal the rest of my face after my foundation. The thing I love the most about Danessa Myricks products is that it is marketed to be multitasking, so you can use all of her products 100 different ways, and of course that goes with every makeup product, but I just really enjoy the fact that Danessa and her team really emphasize the fact that her products can be used 100 different ways, and they demo how to do that. The NARS eyeshadow stick, I want to say that I really like the shade of this. I think that this little subtle purple wing is so nice because it's not dark in a sense where it almost looks like black eyeliner, you know? Like, I feel like this is very obviously some sort of warmer purple shade, and I love that. I think that in the daytime outside, this actually would really help my brown eyes pop. I did wear brown mascara to further emphasize the brown eyes and to further emphasize the purple eyeliner, you know? I don't know if it worked, but I think that this is really nice. I don't necessarily think that this eyeshadow stick formulation is anything innovative, anything new that we haven't seen in the market, but I do think that this shade in the shade Faded is new to what I have seen. I have seen a bunch of different purples that are more plummy. I've seen purples that pull lighter than this, almost to where they look like a magenta sort of shade, but this one, the way that it blends out, It just looks so beautiful and sophisticated, but also this fun pop of color. I think that this is going to be such a fun shade to continue wearing throughout the months, and I'm excited to see what I can continue to do with this. The Kulfi cream eyeshadow, nothing but good things about these cream eyeshadows. I have, I think, 4 now in my collection. I am determined to collect all of them, and I think that this was such a fun addition to the Zari cream eyeshadows. Having a topper separates this one from the rest of them because you can use this in several different ways. Of course, you can use the other ones in several different ways as well, but this is nice because, as you can see, you do have that glitter, but it seems like this sort of eyeshadow or cream eyeshadow that you can wear by itself and have a full-on look with. So I'm very, very excited to have this one. It really reminds me of the Hourglass Scattered Lights, except it's in that cream eyeshadow. So you don't necessarily have to use a primer with this one if you don't want to. And also it seems a little bit more intense because it is in that cream format. These Ulta Beauty water stains, they really, really impress me. Like I said, I already had the orange shade. I thought that one was so beautiful and quite natural. It really brightens up the complexion. And this shade, I mean, look at it. It's pretty. It's so pretty, and it's not too dark. Sometimes I find with more plummy shades, it almost deepens up too much to where the rest of my complexion just looks too pale. But this one I feel like is kind of walking the line between being a neutral brown and being a plummy purple shade. And I am really, really here for that sort of shade. I think it looks amazing. And my most favorite thing about this is the way that it applies so incredibly evenly, and I don't think that it pulled up right in the center of my lips the way that some liquid stains can do. I think that this clung on to my dry lips perfectly and it stained them perfectly, and I still have that stain right here on the back of my hand. So I'm very excited to have this, and a very little of this goes a very long way. So I definitely think that I'm going to be reaching for this a lot for a very long time. And lastly, I think, is the Fenty blush. I knew that I wanted one of these blushes just because I always want all of the new Fenty drops, but this shade in particular I could not pass up, and this finish I think really sets it apart from other blushes. I really, really enjoy the fact that it has that sheen to it, and it'll just make matte looks a little bit more natural, a little bit more glowy. And like I said, this shade, more of these nudie beige shades, are just chef's kiss for me. I think that they are so beautiful. I'm very excited for this. I don't know if I'm actually going to be picking up any of the other shades. I think the shade Petal Poppin' was the other one that I was interested in. However, this one is so good that I feel like I am satisfied with just this one, which is totally fine with me. I'm just really happy with this, and I really would recommend this shade if you are a similar skin tone as I am, if you are my shade twin, if you're looking for a nice nude beige that doesn't look gray on the skin but adds a little bit of color, but it's not like fighting with your lip color, fighting with your eyeshadow. This one I think is going to be perfect. As always, guys, I will be putting all the links in the description box down below, as well as tagging it in the YouTube shopping tab for you guys to easily click on and get redirected to the sites. It always helps me out when you guys shop through my links because they are affiliated. I do get a small commission whenever you guys shop through them. I really appreciate when you do. However, don't feel obligated to use them. It's there for you if you want them, but if not, I totally understand. They are there for you guys if you want them, but if you don't want to use them, it's okay too. Okay guys, that was everything for this shop with me video and this first impression. I hope that you guys enjoyed it. I hope you found it helpful. If you did, please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more videos like this one, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.